There are three mysteries that science will never be able to unravel. The first is what the fate of the universe is. The second is what's really in the water of Villa Belmiro. And the third you'll see in the course of this video. Because every now and then, new stars emerge from the most famous villa in Brazil. Not long ago, a new sensation emerged from the villa that's already making waves in the world of soccer. And even having played in only a few competitions, he already has staggering numbers and eyes from all over Europe interested in this boy's soccer skills. So come with me as today we'll get to know Cauã Basilio, the new sensation of Villa Belmiro. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up at the end. And if you're not subscribed and you're a soccer fanatic, you're wasting time. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on anything. Even before Pelé, Villa Belmiro was already famous for revealing great players to the national scene and even abroad. Antonio Wilson Honorio is an example. The player scored an impressive 368 goals in 450 games for Santos. And interestingly, the striker made his debut for Santos at just 14 years old. Santos FC has never had a problem with age or, as some prefer to say, with maturity. On the contrary, Santos has always favored the playful, joyful soccer of the young players from the academy. And these young prospects, in addition to attracting a lot of attention with their dazzling soccer, bring a lot of money to Santos's coffers. Every year, many important players have been traded by Santos in the last decade. Danilo, Alexandro, Felipe Anderson, Thiago Maia, Gabigol, Paulo Henrique Ganso, Giovanni, Lucas Verissimo, and Caio Jorge are examples. The club made a profit of 218 million euros from these trades, which is over $1 billion in the current exchange rate. Some time ago, we saw a young Santos player rise to global soccer fame with moves and skills rarely seen before. And he was part of none other than the fabulous squad of the Galacticos of Real Madrid. And he wasn't just another player among them. He wore the number 10 jersey. And not to mention, he carried our hopes for the Brazilian national team to win the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. And despite all the off-field issues that tarnished the image of the great player that Robinho was, he will always be remembered for his moves and sprints that drove the fans wild and left opponents in the dust. But Villa didn't stop there. It's like a factory churning out one gem after another. After Robinho, another sensation continued the great legacy of Santos's academy. None other than a guy named Neymar Jr., who since his debut, both as a professional for Santos and wearing the yellow jersey, undoubtedly took center stage with fantastic dribbles and standout performances, although some disappointments also came along the way. But overall, he's a great player. In the 2022 World Cup that will take place in Qatar, he's captivating the expectations of us fans. And his excellent start to the season in Europe in the French Championship seems to be a hint of what's to come. And looking at that same team, we see Rodrigo, one of the highlights of the world's greatest team. And in the Champions League, coming off the bench, he proved his worth by scoring 2 goals that completely changed the history of world soccer in games that seemed lost, showing his greatness and affirming his roots. Because, by the way, he also came from Villa Belmiro. And from a very young age, he attracted many eyes for being a standout player. He made it clear, going to Real Madrid was his greatest desire. And this story makes everything seem simple, right? Be discovered by Santos, play a few good games, and then choose which big European club you want to play for. But that's where the story takes a completely opposite turn that seems cold and lonely, and where many have found themselves and perhaps still remain. The side of great prospects who don't live up to expectations. Just like La Masia, Barcelona's famous academy, which has players like Bojan, Giovanni dos Santos, and Victor Vazquez. Players who were touted as great prospects but ended up in a bottomless pit and, unable to bounce back, fell into complete oblivion. And here in Villa, it's no different. And many great talents who could have been true historic players for Brazil got lost along the way. The biggest example of all might be Jean Cherra, a player many said was better than Neymar and from a very young age was highly praised. And in short, due to his father's greed in demanding too much for what was still a youth player, everything went off track. Then came Victor Andrada, who started during the Neymar era. And after that great team disbanded, he was supposed to be the guy to carry the Santos team. And after some injuries and unsuccessful transfers, he now finds himself without a contract. But with so many stories, Their U11 team seems to be the cradle of another gem, and this time, the hope comes from the courts again, and his name is Kawa Basilio. Son of former Corinthians player Andrezinho, the boy plays for Santos U9 futsal team. And to complete the soccer family, Kawa is the great-grandson of Nena, former defender and runner-up in the 1950 World Cup for the Brazilian national team. With a sharp left foot, the boy has even been mentioned by the Argentine newspaper Olé, which compared the beginnings of Kawa to those of Neymar, Rodrigo, and Lionel Messi. Basile is the youngest player in history to sign a deal with a sports supplier. According to Spanish journalist Gustavo Muñana, the contract with the brand was signed when the child was only 8 years old. And just to understand the magnitude of this, Neymar and Rodrigo, two of the latest great talents formed at Vila Belmiro, closed their deals with the company at 13 and 11 years old, respectively. The boy arrived at Santos when he was 6. Without a category for his age, he started training with Santos U18. And over time, both on the court and on the field, he proved to be truly exceptional. 3 months later, a video went viral on social media, putting his name back in the spotlight. In the short clip, the young Brazilian shows the quality of a professional. Moreover, he demonstrates the personality of a leader, worthy of the captain's armband he wears. And recently, during the Danny Cup, Kawa Basile stood out with numbers way above average. He scored an incredible 26 goals in 7 games for Santos' U11 team, though the day-to-day of the club's youth categories guarantee that it was just a small sample of his great potential. And with an eye on the future, but still with somewhat tied hands, Santos tries to protect Kawa from foreign interest. With an Italian passport, the player can go to Europe and play before turning 18. On the young stars side, there's an interest in growing at Santos and turning professional for the Alvinegro Praiano from Vila Belmiro. The staff that manages his career sees with good eyes everything that Santos has done to keep him here in Brazil. And according to TNT Esportes, 3 European giants have already consulted the young athlete's father, interested in having Kawa in their academy. These powers would be Barcelona, Inter Milan, and Real Madrid. And having his foreign passport would greatly facilitate the possibility of moving to European soccer. And without a training contract signed with Santos, he could end up leaving the club's youth categories for free. Now, Santos is trying to prepare the ground for another gem to be polished within Vila in the coming years without skipping any steps. Santos really seems to be a magnet for young stars. The only question is whether all of this won't go to the heads of the family members, as we've seen before. And if they'll know how to guide this little gem in the best possible way, because he's got the soccer skills. Now, I want to know from you, had you heard about this boy before? And what did you think of all this? Do you think it's really that big of a deal, or is it just a flash in the pan? And is it too early to think anything? Comment below, because I want to know what you think. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.